welcome to the Four Corners podcast. I almost screwed that up. Um, and we seem to be up and running just fine this week. So, hooray for us.
Are we?
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Well, I still don't know what happened
Yeah, it looks like it.
because I got on to test the next night and everything was fine. So, I don't know. I don't know if it was my internet. I don't know if OBS was being dumb. I don't know if YouTube decided it hated my place of residence. So who knows? I did salvage something to put on the channel. So
Yeah,
you want
this is
to?
a pretty good length too. So
Yeah. So we're not doing a match of the week this week because I thought we were probably just gonna be off like a bunch of crazed ferrets on this week's topic. Because there's just I've really been annoyed this year because I've really wanted to get off WWE and they really have just they've continued to needed to be discussed in a greater sense of the wrestling world because there were more releases this week. Well, I don't know, New Day's kind of not a release necessarily.
Oh, it's a release where
it's a mutually agreed upon departure.
It's not a release. It's not a release necessarily in the sense that we usually see WWE releases that we saw literally like a week ago, where it's like everyone's chugging along fine and they just go like, "Yeah, you're cut. Like, sorry, thanks. Best of luck in your future endeavors."
Because I guess that's kind of what the Carrie Sane one was. She told them she was not going to renew, and they're like, "Well, okay, we're just not we're not going to use you if you're not going to renew, so we'll just let you go now." Is kind of what happened there.
Yeah, I think what's come out with her is that her contract's up, I think, soon anyway.
Like August, I think. August or September.
I had heard even sooner, but maybe you're right. But she was like, she's obviously she's Japanese. She wants to go back to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know if she still does. I think she does, but she like when she got released from WWE like the first time, like she opened a gym in Japan and was like running that while she was kind of doing some of that Stardom shots. And I think she still owns it. Maybe it's just like she obviously with being in the WWE, I don't think she's like been managing it, running it, but I think she still owns it. So
yeah, it seems
I mean,
kind of
she's from
unlikely.
Japan. She could be like, she's not. It's so like, it's weird to talk like this but obviously like it kind of matters more because men in wrestling tend to have a longer longevity.
Yeah,
I say that, but we think about Mae Young, who was just like going strong.
Yeah,
Mae Young
70s.
Mae Young was literally insane. So.
An animal.
No, she an animal. Being an animal, because I don't know how well known it is about her. I don't see people talk about it, but in her younger years, she would pretty much prostitute herself for the sake of beating up said John and robbing them. Is how she survived in her younger days.
Yeah. But other women in wrestling have been out there a long time. I know like Aja Kong just did stuff with Tokyo Joshi.
Yeah, but she doesn't bump a lot. Like Aja Kong is pretty.
No, she doesn't bump a lot. Like, I mean, but that's like most wrestlers once they reach a certain age. Like they're not. That's why back in the day, like Terry Funk was notable because he was like in his 50s doing like moonsaults and all sorts of crazy shit. And it's like, yeah, you shouldn't do that, Terry. Come on, Terry. Like,
come on, Terry. What was it? First.
Oh man, I'm an old man, Cactus.
The first time that he did a moonsault was on a Smoky Mountain show, and Cornette ran up to him and said, "Terry, what the hell did you just do?" And Terry's response was, "I don't know, Corny, but I ain't gonna do it again."
Yeah. He proceeded to do another 1,000 times.
My favorite. Have you ever listened to like the Chris Jericho and Lance Storm interview about when they were in Smoky Mountain? And he was doing these vignettes with them that they hated. And
that was in his book.
And he was like, look, if you're gonna make us do this, can we at least get hotter girls? Is like what he said his last argument was to try and save himself. And then I think it was him. He did something. Well, and then they got in trouble because they were doing like a double top rope missile drop kick, and like you can't do that. Like the Rock and Roll Express are just doing a regular drop kick. And then he just tried something dumb and he broke his arm, and that's what like ended their run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't remember. He was trying to do it. If I remember his book properly, he was trying to do a shooting star press.
Yeah.
And broke his arm. Like
broke his arm.
Yeah, like the day of, like one of the big, like the Nashville Coliseum show or something like that.
And he's also in the he's also a part of the infamous Dairy Queen video.
Yeah, because he is so I knew a guy, a promoter, who claimed he was in the van for that one. But you hear Jericho kind of egging him on. Cornette's getting a little wound up, and then you hear Jericho go, "Do we look like a comedy bus to you?" Which just, for some reason, pushed it over the top.
If you don't know, if you don't know the story, so what happened is it was late, and they're looking for food because this is like the early '90s, and like Tennessee or West Virginia, so there aren't a lot of options. So they go through and order a shitload.
Was not either one. I know exactly where I could drive you there
they were
myself.
In Kentucky then?
They were in Hyden, Kentucky.
Okay.
They had just done a show, and I wish I was kidding. They had just done a show at the Richard Nixon Memorial Gym. Because after Nixon got kicked out of office, he went to the only place that he could find that would be happy to have him, and it was there.
You know what my favorite picture of Richard Nixon is? It's from the 60s. And there was like a California wildfire, so he's on his roof like hosing it down so it doesn't catch on fire. Still has his like nice shirt and tie on while he's doing it. And I'm like, there is a man of class that he's hosing down his roof with his tie still on.
But yeah, they roll up late, and you've got a van full of wrestlers, and so they ordered something like 25 burgers.
Yeah.
And when they rolled up to the window, she goes, "Oh, we thought you were kidding. We'll start making them." And Cornette blew a vessel, which, I'm going to be honest, it's hard for me to blame him exactly, but getting out of the van, and then it's not your standard drive-through window. It's still there. It's still that way. What they had was, it was almost like a barn door kind of thing. They would slide open and close. So he gets out of the van and walks through there, and his like upper body leaned into it, yelling at them. And apparently Candido and Tammy were inside while he was doing this.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So, yeah, that's one of those early 2000s nefarious pieces of wrestling media.
Convicted murderer Tammy.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Look it up, Shad. Richard Nixon Recreation Center in Hyde.
Yep. That's it. And
which doesn't look like a venue going to a wrestling show, but
it's not.
I mean,
great
wrestling shows. I've been to wrestling shows in rec centers, so does that. So yeah.
I find Nixon kind of fascinating as a human being because I guess he was such an avid football fan, he would call up like coaches and offer up like play ideas and stuff.
Yeah, that's what they wanted from him.
Well, it's
play option ideas.
Well, it's hilarious. Like, there's a Nixon tape where he's watching football, and he's just like getting into it. And then he like turns to his daughter because she wanted to watch it. Like, oh, like okay, dear, like I'll be done soon. And then he goes back like, run it, god damn it! It's just like, I don't know. He's a fascinating human being in a lot of ways.
So I know Matt hates this particular thing I'm going to reference, but one of the funniest long bill jokes I've ever encountered was on the 20, 30, 25th year, I can't remember exactly, of the release of Alice's Restaurant, Arlo Guthrie did another version of it. Hang on, let me... He did another version of it.
Ugh.
God. Matt hates Thanksgiving.
It's not even a Thanksgiving song.
It is too.
It's not.
No,
2 years ago on Thanksgiving. It's the closest thing we got.
It's like Thanksgiving staple.
Yes. Anyway, at the end of it, instead of the original ending he got invited to the White House by Jimmy Carter. And Chip Carter found him in the festivities after. And they said, well, we thought it would be funny. We were going to tell you that we found a copy of your album it was the only thing that was left behind in the presidential recording library. And he goes, was it open? And he said, yeah. And he goes, I don't know about you guys, but it's hard for me to think of very many things that are 19 and a half minutes long. Because his first recording just about matched up with the blanked out stuff on the Nixon tapes.
That's funny. What did Carter get attacked by? Was it some kind of like swamp rabbit or something? Oh fuck, what was it?
That sounds right.
I think it was a swamp rabbit or something. I don't know.
Chad, we have a Thanksgiving song. And I would say it's that song what went viral, like that's the old like preacher lady was doing. Like you see it pop up on social media every like Thanksgiving. So, we got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. You name it. You remember that?
I
you
don't know that one. No.
I know it.
No, I got nothing. I got nothing, man.
That's kind of an oldie now.
I have nothing for you, Matt.
That's kind of old at this point. That's kind of the era of the Badger song and stuff.
Badger.
I'm gonna send this. I'm gonna send this to you.
I'll tell you that part of that was the fact that it amused my dad for that as a Thanksgiving song, and so we all just kind of get into it.
It was not something like it's something I wasn't exposed to until later of life, so I don't have like a nostalgia for it. So I don't. It's not like a terrible song. I don't think it's a Thanksgiving song though. It's like the barest of references, but you know, people need something for Thanksgiving, so that's what you get.
Well, and it turned into a. Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry. I keep stepping on you.
I'm just saying, like, I don't like songs where it's like you're basically just talking a narrative story, and then every so often you sing like a brief chorus. It's like I don't want that. Just do a spoken word.
Yeah,
album.
I don't know. Like, I'd have to think about that because I'm sure it's been done. There's probably something I enjoy that's like that, but I kind of agree. I don't like shit that's like that long musically.
I have also had I'd have to go dig up who it is, but my brother stumbled across an Instagram account that is a guy who does an Arlo Guthrie impression, doing different stuff or doing Arlo Guthrie style of things. His version of doing the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald is Arlo Guthrie. It surprises me at how amusing it is because it's not him doing the lyrics. It's him starting to tell the story like he's telling the story, and then stops and explains stuff every time. You may not know, but they run great big old boats up there on Lake Superior.
I think that song's longer than the boat took to sink. But anyway, so So the long and short of what we're going to be talking about is we got a couple more releases and they're talking about, so they're starting
more. Because that, we'll talk about them, but I mean, Tongaloa,
he should have had a job.
Potato, aka
Tongaloa
Jeff Cobb got released.
Tongaloa they should take him to court for felony theft, because like I don't know. I wonder if they just had enough when he fucked up laying on a table like a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, it rolled right off.
Like, how do you do that?
Was it
Remember he fucked up.
Tongaloa that had that god awful exchange with Okada in that match that I was so pissed about?
That's Tongaloa.
Yeah, and he
Oh
also
my
fucked
God.
up hiding under the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's terrible. I don't.
He's gotten terrible. He was passable enough years ago when he was doing Guerrillas of Destiny in New Japan.
Yeah, but he
Like,
was living off
perfectly
of
fine.
he was living off of Tama Tonga being awesome. So
He was, yes. Yeah, but he was fine in that tag team for a while. But they kept Tama Tonga. they got rid of Jeff Cobb.
That's because Tama Tonga actually, like, you could actually, like, Tama Tonga actually, for being old, he still has charisma, and you can get something out of Tama Tonga. And then Jeff Cobb, I think they just signed because they thought AEW was going to sign him. So they were just...
Yeah, and they stuck him with the other bloodline group, even though he's not Samoan.
He's Hawaiian. Well, I mean, Tonga and Loa aren't Samoan either.
No, they're like Polynesian, right?
Yeah. So
Tongan, I think.
Yeah, Tongan.
They're.
I looked it up when they signed them. I looked it up, and it is different. I think they might be like. I don't even think they're close to each other. Actually, I don't remember though, because I looked up geographically where they would have been from.
American Samoa is like way out there.
Yeah.
It's probably closer to Australia than it is to.
I think Tonga might be closer to Hawaii than anything. I don't remember. They weren't close together though, because I did look it up at one point. But I mean,
look this up.
Cobb's Hawaiian, I believe.
He is. He might have like ethnicity of Guam, like he might be Guamanian.
Yeah. But
Guam is one that, as I remember, is just away from everything out in the Pacific. Like, there's nothing near it.
He was born in Honolulu. He represented Guam at the 2004 Olympics.
Okay. Well, that gets...
This is even crazier. He's of Filipino descent on his mother's side.
Oh, okay.
He was born in Hawaii to Filipino immigrants.
I was gonna say.
So I'm wrong.
I was gonna say Olympics get kind of.
Grew up there, but he's not even like he's not even remotely like.
Well, I was gonna say Olympics get weird because Olympics are kind of a joke for like the countries that will let you represent them, because like a lot of those countries will be like, well, like, okay, you had a cousin twice removed on your mother's side 5 generations ago, like you're good to go.
There's some of them that don't even care about that. They just, hey, do you want to represent us? Cool.
Yeah, if you can win. Because I think, like, in the World Baseball Classic, not the Olympics, but I think Italy let Mike Piazza play for them when that started. I know. I know. I know.
It sounds close enough.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. But anyway, so what's going on? So what's going on from what I've seen is pretty much what people have been saying was going to happen is starting to happen. They're moving the WWE talent over to TKO deals, which means they're all getting massive pay cuts. And so New Day took like one look at their new deals. They were like, "This doesn't work for me, brother."
Yeah. So what's happening right now apparently is that over the weekend they went to an undisclosed amount of people. And who exactly it is, it's unknown.
I bet it's people whose deals are up in the next couple of months.
I don't think it's just that, because I mean, the New Day just signed the new deal. They signed a new deal last year, and their deal ran through 2030. They did like a 5-year deal. But what I have heard, at least like through the grapevine, I know this has been reported as fact versus just rumor or what people are saying, but it's coming from people who I think like they probably have heard something that's probably approximation of the truth, that the people that it is going to be like the UFC model, where it's like you have like a handful of who they determine are stars at the top, and they get, the good contracts, and then everyone else, they're kind of like, lack of a better word, expendable, but more like it's a sliding scale. If
Yeah.
you're like 25 years old, they may have already got you like and signed you some shit rookie deal, whatever. But let's say
Yeah.
you're not. Let's not even use that. Let's say like you're 30. Let's say or reasonable. Like all of a sudden Will Ospreay's contract comes up and he
Yeah.
wants to go, and it's like, well, they could push him to the tippy top, and maybe they don't, but he's a star. You could probably get some use out of him. Maybe he could be a star. Whatever. You could bring him in, and it's like maybe you're not going to screw with him. Maybe you'll give him a good contract for 3 years, and that'll be fine. But let's say well, this is a great example because he just re-signed with AEW, and now in hindsight, you're smart, right? What if you're Chris Jericho? Like you're in your 50s. Like you're a star, you're a big name star.
Yeah.
You could have come to the WWE, and in theory, you got like a good contract, even if it's just for like a couple of years. It's like, well, you should probably like retire. This would be like retirement run, whatever. Like if you're older,
I would
then
say if
they're
you're
going to restructure.
if you're an old guy that's had like a lot of success, I would say you're probably fine, because the one thing I've noticed with, especially since this last like year or so, and they've even said that, is like they've become a star fucker promotion now. So like I think if you have that, if you're Chris Jericho, yeah, you'll probably get a good deal because they're star fuckers now. I mean, that's more with celebrities, but I think that would be true of like, well, it's true of like Lesnar, and I would say like any of the guys of like the Attitude Era that were like names, I would say
Maybe.
get similar treatment. As
But
long as you weren't like primarily in WCW, then you'll get shit on.
the rumor though is that it's people who are older, and how they define that, I don't know. But because so many people are older there. But let's say over 40.
Well, and it's such a
Number one,
subjective thing to like, because like let's use Lashley as an example, who's pushing 50, and there are some guys like in their late 30s that are more broken down than he is already.
yeah.
So is he old?
He's
Like
still
I
in
mean,
phenomenal shape.
yeah, like so like numerically he's old, but like as a worker he's not.
He can still go.
Yeah.
And certainly like the type of style that he would work, it's like you can actually get a lot of mileage with him. He's not going to be going out there and doing like flips and shit that you would see like another guy. So his body, he's going to do more power stuff and everything. His body's going to probably last a little bit longer.
He's not going to bump much.
But like so yeah, it's hard to say what their criteria is going to be, because the problem is this has been a problem they've had since TKO took over, is they're treating the WWE like the UFC. And this attitude is hurting the UFC, but it makes more sense in MMA because yeah, like guys at the bottom and middle are interchangeable. And if you sign like a bunch of guys that are like 6-0 and 7-0, they are largely interchangeable. So you offer them cheap deals, and then the guys that crash out, you just get rid of after a couple of fights, and the guys that win their matches, you re-sign them to a little more money, and then you push them higher up. And like wrestling doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, it's older people and people who are making like big money deals. So in the case of the New Day, it was guys who they signed big contracts. They've been around like over 10 years in the company, and they're making a good amount of money. But they brought in like who knows how much money to the company over that time. They're people that if they're gonna get a big contract, it's like you earned that big contract.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, but under the TKO model and their math, it's like you're over 40, you're probably not going to be around too much longer. Like, do we really need to pay you guys for the next 5 years, like, $1 million each or whatever? And it's like, yeah, maybe. Like, they're still stars.
Are we going to honor that contract that you're on?
Especially for New Day, because, like, even if you didn't want them as wrestlers, they still have, like, a lot of utility that would make them worth the money. Like, being brand ambassadors, for instance.
Yeah. The thing that has stuck out to me in this is that Xavier Woods, Austin Creed, whatever name, is frankly one of the best brand ambassador public facing guys out like this is a guy who has been able to interact with very well all kinds of different media and different in ways that wrestling doesn't usually cross over into, and do it very well, and be very knowledgeable, be very be a really really good representation for the company.
Yeah.
But just as an example, I'm just gonna this is a way back machine thing, but a number of years ago when League of Legends was like the biggest online game you could play, he spearheaded this crossover the thing with it and set it up so that there were two teams of people on the roster playing. And only he and Claudio knew what the hell they were talking about. But he's articulate, he's able to hang with the commentators, the esports commentators they had. It all sounded great. The biggest casualty is that Seth Rollins sounded like a dumbass.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. But to get rid of like him, as and with up, down, down, and that sort of stuff,
well, up, down, down isn't what it used to be, but that's another thing
it's
though.
not.
Like there was a time when that was a pretty big deal. There was probably like a 3 or 4 year period, because like even like Stephanie McMahon was on that, and I think Triple H did a appearance too. Like so, that's how big it was to a point. Did Stone Cold ever do that? I know he had all sorts of people on there.
I don't know.
But that's his
I'm
though,
not
because
sure.
he never. Because the fun fact about up, down, down is he never referred to himself as Xavier Woods on that. He was always Austin Creed on that channel.
I wasn't sure if he. I know that there was some talk about who had ownership of it a number of years ago, but I can't remember what came of that.
Because remember when they were wanting a cut of people's like Twitch and stuff, and my argument was that I think they deserve a cut if you're using your WWE name, because they would deserve a cut because you're using their property for that. But if they're using like so, again, as an example of what I'm saying, so like if he did do stuff as Xavier Woods, okay, yeah, you owe them a little cut of what you did because you're using their IP essentially for that. But if you're doing it as Austin Creed, well, they can get fucked because you're using your real name, is what my opinion on that was. That's not how they did it. I can't
remember what the end game on that was.
Did you see one of the rumors that this was, I think Brian Alvarez, I think, said this, is that he had heard that they're trying to, so that New Day doesn't go to, well, first off, like how they got released was basically they came to them and it's like, you need to restructure your contract and take less, and they're like, ha, fuck you, pay me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're like, well, no, we got, and so New Day was like, okay, you can give us our releases now, and TKO did, because they didn't want to pay them the money that they're paying them.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, like, I would find it very unrealistic that they don't go to AEW, and Tony Khan would pay. And this
well, yeah, because
it's not a signing.
Because
it's not a signing.
Because the thing is, like, even if you sign them to only a 6-month deal, if that's all they are interested in, like, you are going to print. Like, if you headline a pay-per-view with them versus the Young Bucks, and that's the only match they have, you are going to sell a shitload of pay-per-views.
And merch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would not surprise me if they go to AEW in longer than 6 months. But the rumor that which I would actually have this as a side discussion or side note about New Day coming in. But Alvarez said that to prevent them from going to AEW, or at least as a unit, that they allegedly have tried to persuade, Xavier Woods, Austin Creed, to sign a deal with them that he would basically he'd get the quote Tyler Breeze deal, which is like, we'll sign you and you can just be a consultant to our video games, and like that's how they prevent him from going to AEW. He just gets to do video game stuff for them, which is like, I'm pretty sure that he can get more money from Tony Khan as a wrestler.
Yeah.
Than your little like.
They have this weird thing where
realistic.
they have this weird thing where they think, like, because that worked with Tyler Breeze, who I'm not trying to dog on him, but did not have like a massive footprint as a wrestler and probably didn't have a lot of value on his own and probably was super into video games. Like that's an attractive offer because like, oh hey, they're gonna pay me to do this other stuff that doesn't involve like concussing myself. So for someone like
Yeah,
him, it's
Now, hang
attractive,
on.
but
Hang on. Let's not sell Tyler Bree short because the Fashion Files was hysterical.
yeah, but I'm
I'm
saying
convinced the writers' room didn't have a damn thing to do with it,
yeah,
but the Fashion Files was fun watch.
but I'm saying is like Tyler Breeze is not gonna be like not gonna have not gonna have like Tony Khan dangling a briefcase just full of $100 bills on a fishing line right in front of him the second he walks out the door.
Yeah.
right. Uh, the thing I wanted to add real quick, just as an aside, like I'd be shocked if New Day doesn't come in. And when they came in, obviously the big money match there is against the Bucks, since
Yeah.
those two teams have like history where I don't think they even I mean, Kofi and
They played Smash
Xavier have
Brothers,
been
I think, is where their big
yeah,
crossover happened.
they've been with the WWE over a decade. It's not as if they were like wrestling Matt and Nick Jackson,
Yeah.
like when would they have ever had a chance to do that? Maybe
TNA.
like Austin Creed back in the day could have had some interaction with them and do them, but
They could have
not Kofi. Kofi's been with
yeah.
the WWE for like a long time, but
time,
I don't think Creed did
but
though because I don't think they were in TNA at the same time
I,
and Creed was primarily a Southern Indies guy before TNA got him because like he's primarily I think known from NWA Anarchy, which was NWA Wildside. That's where I first saw him when he was first breaking in, but I don't think he ever did much outside of the Southern Indies.
but that's obviously a big money match. I'm not sure if they have a 90-day non-compete.
Yeah.
It could be like they in theory could
They could be there by September.
Maybe August, because I'm thinking like what about like All In Wembley? Isn't that in August?
It depends on
In
it. Well, it depends because there's been times where guys have jumped quicker because if New Day said shove it up your ass, because the thing is like I think there is a way you can get out of it because if they don't pay you the 90 like the reason the 90-day exists is because they pay you through that.
It's not really a non-compete. It's a notice that in 90 days your contract will not be renewed.
It's so what it essentially what it is in corporate America, you typically get a 30-day notice that you're getting a 60-day notice. And so when you get that, like they're going to pay you through that whole thing. You might not be expected to work. You usually aren't expected to work. You're expected to just try to find another job, but they pay you through that and you get that. That's what essentially what their 90-day no compete is. You're just being told like you're done, but we're going to pay you until this date.
You're not fired until the end of those 90 days.
Yeah. But even though they may have not wrestled each other before, like they've obviously done stuff, outside of wrestling that they're clearly been friendly with each other.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I saw this idea that people were putting on in social media this weekend, which I think is a brilliant idea. It's like, look, I know that Tony Khan uses a lot of tournaments and does everything, but someone was like, they need to do the Continental Classic, but for tag teams. And it's like, I stopped and it's like, that is a absolutely brilliant idea. Like, because you could have the Bucks, the New Day, FTR. I mean, I know that he's more into single stuff now, but you could have like Al Fletcher when he's back from injury.
Edge and Christian.
Edge and Christian.
Brodito.
Brodito. You could have some combination of like the Death Riders. You could have Moxley and Claudio, or Claudio and Pac. Like you could really like revitalize the tag scene in AEW with that. For even as fun, you could have like the Outrunners.
You could bring some luchadors in too.
Oh, absolutely. You could have. Well, if you want to do luchadors just from like in-house, you could have Clone and Hechicero from the Don Callis family.
Yeah.
You get like Commander. Who was Commander teaming with? I don't think it was with Hologram. I know Hologram's injured. I thought he was teaming with somebody else. You could have like, well, they're kind of starting to do stuff with Roosh, but you could have
Yeah.
Roosh and Trilistico,
Yeah,
or
but depending on
Trilistico and
Roosh,
Beast Mordos.
depending on Roosh to behave himself for any period of time is a fool's errand. So I would not.
They're starting to push him a little, where he's
Yeah,
actually on TV,
but this is
TV minutes.
but this is Roosh.
Maybe he's like, I'll behave. I
No,
promise.
look, he can have all the good intentions in the world and think he's gonna do fine, but Roosh is Roosh, which means he's gonna eventually fuck something up because that's just what he does. He has, I mean, what, like a good 12, 15-year history of this sort of behavior now?
Okay, how you know?
Like, they got some guys back into CMLL and they could not convince CMLL to let Roosh back for the Arena Mexico show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's just say if you ever seen the Simpsons episode where Homer like pays off all his debt and quits, and he's like playing Mr. Burns' head like a bongo and sets the bridge on fire as he drives across it, that is Roosh.
Yeah. But you could easily have like a dozen teams. In
Oh, yeah.
A tag team Continental Classic, and it would be fantastic. Like I would love
Just
it. But
in the world where everybody's healthy, you throw in Davis and Doyle, you throw in Jurassic Express. Like, I cannot begin to tell you how much I would love this. You throw in some combination of the conglomeration, and I believe I saw someone say, call it the Jay Briscoe Memorial Tournament, and I'm just like,
yes, that's a brilliant
You
idea.
know,
oh, by the
Gates
way,
of
everybody,
we haven't mentioned Gates of Agony. Like I actually
Yeah.
like those guys.
Yeah.
That's a dedicated tag team that like they should be in something like this and actually get some wins to really help establish them.
by the way,
I just don't get...
we didn't say this at the beginning. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody! I'm wearing a Chidor shirt just for today.
Okay.
What I don't understand about all this though is, so I get like I don't agree with it, but I understand their strategy of they're just cutting talent down. They're probably using this as like just to trim the fat by getting people to decide not to take the deals too. I think that plays a role in it. So they're trying to trim some of the fat on the roster, especially their older talent. But like New Day is not one I would have done that with, just because I know they make all these comments about AEW and stuff, but it's just like I would not feed my competitors something up on a platter like Bucks versus New Day. And I think that might just be because they're dumb and it's like a respect issue, but like also just coming off of you essentially had to admit defeat and stop counter programming AEW pay-per-views because you kept failing at it. And you're also a company that's like losing momentum. And you got rid of fan favorites, but then your competitors coming up, and like of course they're not going to out money you, but like there is, I think, brand damage to being seen as like the bad promotion like it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I just not and I would not give a company the other problem with that too is, and again, I know they're dumb and they don't get like the wrestling business to a large degree because they have so many non-wrestling people, but like I would not give a company like that program on their best day, but like I especially wouldn't do it when that company's metrics are coming up and they're heating up, and like you're just like throwing them a big old like pile of gasoline on top of like a smoldering like pile of wood.
Yeah, and people, well, Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer were saying that obviously the New Day is like that's the big like story that they left, and so they're probably going to go to AEW. I feel it wasn't that's not, you didn't expect them to ever be available, so I didn't think about that, but it's like Tony Khan can't take everyone, but it's like, you should probably take those two people. Like they could actually add some value to your program.
They fit the brand too. They fit the brand well.
What Alvarez and Meltzer are saying is that the strong rumor is that they're not going to be the only ones. That there's people who either have already been released, the names just haven't been told, or that they're going to in the next in the short term, you're going to see more people
Yeah.
believe. And it's like, again, Tony Khan can't take if a dozen people more. They've already released like a dozen people like
Yeah.
a week ago, and we were talking about like, well, if he takes any of them, like who should he take? And it's like, well, probably shouldn't take many.
I
Maybe a
wouldn't have
couple of the
said
women for
anyone
sure.
like from that last batch, but
there was a couple I was like, yeah,
I
like
take
maybe.
Sane. Everyone else is just kind of a whatever to me. But I think the problem is that they're having though is like it's not about who AEW is going to take to a degree. It's the where do you hit a point where you've thinned your roster out to where like there's no talent in the middle and bottom.
There's no one for people to work with anymore. I don't care who you still have on the roster.
That's something, and Shad, you can appreciate this. That's something that I saw someone mention, and it's like it's actually true. It's like if you get rid of a lot of these like old time vets, because it's like well, you're like 40, 45, like, and you're making a lot of 7 figures, like take a pay cut, and they're like, no, well, you need to release, like, okay, guess I'm done. Like if they get rid of too many old guys, it's like, look at who the newer guy is going to work with.
Who are they going to learn from?
Yeah.
Maybe someone like Braun Breaker, because of his like history, might be okay. But what about you got a guy like, even like a guy like Obafemi, who I'm high on? It's like he's still green and he still needs like a lot of work. Like he needs guys to work with.
Yeah.
And there's tons of people in NXT.
Because the thing is, like, someone like Obafemi, and I think what people don't appreciate is he has a lot of talent, and I think he is going to be good, but he's also not good yet. Like, you still have to nurture him.
Yeah. And there's a ton of guys in NXT who were terrible. And it's like I think what they want to do, because it's the UFC model, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the UFC model too, right? It's like you got the top guys, and then it's like you're just counting. It's like, oh, well, a lot of people want to get into this business, so we'll just hire like, if especially with wrestling, it's just we'll just hire like people on the indies. We can pay them a hot dog and a handshake because they want a WrestleMania moment. It's their dream to be in WWE.
Yeah, but see,
and there will be those, pardon my language, fucking morons like Stephanie Vacker and Mariah
we don't
May.
use the M word, Matt.
They will go in there and be like, oh yeah, I'll take. Stephanie Vacker got on a podcast, and there's something I want to talk about later in the show. But Stephanie Vacker literally got on like a podcast or some show where said when she got offer from the WWE, an offer from AEW after the match she had with Mercedes Moné, that she got offers from both of them to sign, and she cried because the AEW financial number was so much bigger than the WWE offer, but she signed with the WWE because it was her dream to be in the WWE. Well, and it's like, and that's Mariah May too. It's like, oh, like you go back, people stalked her like social media posts, years of her like basically kissing Triple H's ass and how much she loved him, the WWE and all that. And it's like, yeah, small wonder. That's who, in terms of actual workers, the WWE or TKO is looking to. They'll suckers, marks. Yeah, but they'll come and get paid less to come work for them because it's their dream and they want a mania moment.
You can only live off of that for so long though, because and the other thing is why their attitude doesn't work is because like, so going back to the UFC, which they're basing this off of, like when a guy's coming around and he's 42, it's like, well, you've lost like 5 of your last 7 fights. Like we're not going to offer you the same deal because what they make a mistake is the UFC has a natural life cycle, which wrestling doesn't have, because wrestling's about your ability to perform, and because they control the outcomes. Because like I said, when you're old in the UFC, it's like, yeah, you've lost like 5 of your last 7 fights. Like, you can't, we're not going to offer you the same amount of money. And that's fair.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's about how you perform, and Shaq, it's like the longer you do wrestling, the better you get at it, because you understand it more and you learn more. Now, yes, obviously, like time is undefeated, so there comes a point where, let's say you start wrestling like in your early 20s. By the time you're like 40, there's like wear and tear on your body.
Yeah, but
so you're not able to do the same things that you can, but you can because you've learned, you can change how you do it, and change your style, and you can continue working. Like
Yeah.
I mentioned him earlier, but like Chris Jericho is a great example. It's like, can Chris Jericho do like lion salts and all sorts of stuff that he used to do? Like,
You can do it like a
not so
couple
much.
times a year.
Yeah, not usually. He can't do it every match.
No, but he
He can't be
can.
doing it every match, wrestling 4 or 5 times a week like he used to back when he was younger.
But
But
that,
he's changed his style like multiple
yeah,
times.
and a
Yeah.
lot of guys have, and that's why. But that's why the UFC model doesn't work, because it's like, okay, yeah, your physical tools are declining, but it's not like a combat sport where it's like, oh, you've been knocked out a couple times real bad, so you're 40, and like you can still kind of brawl, but your chin's obliterated, so if you get tagged good enough, you're out. Like it's
Yeah,
not stuff like that with wrestling where like
it-
you literally do like or it's like you're losing your strength, which means you can't grapple as good anymore. Like there is a reason, like in UFC, like yeah,
yeah,
you would offer a guy
and they
less money.
should.
Yeah.
They honestly they should, because that or same thing with boxing, like actual real combat sports. It's like you probably should. As the older you get, the more you should dial it down, because
Yeah.
that's a even heavier physical toll on your body,
Yeah.
and a greater. Not that people in wrestling don't get absolutely wrecked, and there are people who've obviously they've died in the ring in wrestling, but you in MMA and boxing, things like that, you can also die in the ring or get
Yeah.
seriously injured. But just in general, like the more fights you do, it's like an accelerate. Like you talk about like the bump card. It's like, so you got an accelerated
Yeah.
bump card, injury card in combat sports, because if you're 40, you've had a couple bad concussions. Like, yeah, you should be
Yeah.
wrapping it up.
And
Like,
making that 185 weight cut is getting harder and harder, but you're not quite big enough to successfully fight at 205. So now it's getting more exhausting to make weight because you can't go up a weight class because you're too small. Like there's things like that wrestlers don't have to contend with.
yeah, I do think that another thing that they're going to try to do, and this is like this is going to cause cascading problems, is that they're going to heavily just be trying to pull people who were basically washed out, failed college athletes
Yeah.
on NIL deals, and it's like, and just get them under the theory. It's like, well, they're athletic, so we can teach them how to
Yeah.
wrestle.
And that doesn't
And
work.
it's like, it does it because the problem is, like, for every like 50 of those people, you may have one of them who's genuinely takes to wrestling and genuinely could be a star for you,
I don't
and
think
then a bunch of like nobodies. And I get that you maybe, if you had a healthy roster that you've cultivated from like the indies or whatever, then yeah, you can take 50 like people, and 49 of them can be, for lack, pardon my language, shitters. And then you got the one guy like an Obafemi who's like, yeah, this guy's going to be a huge star.
yeah, but
And
I
maybe
don't
that's
think
fine,
they've
because again, you have all these other people that you can rely on until you get this one guy at the snuff. But
Yeah.
they're not going to have that.
No, and they're not even hitting on 1 in 50. Because I mean, I think they're still, I think you could still count on your fingers in the last, since Brock Lesnar and Shelton Benjamin, how many like legit athletes they've hit on. Well, no, let's expand it. Since Kurt Angle, I think you'd still count on your hands how many athletes, because the problem is, and what even Meltzer did this with Gable Stevenson, is like your athletic credentials don't fucking matter, because it's your aptitude. Because you can be an amazing athlete and not understand, like there's no athletic, like being like Patrick Mahomes does not teach you how to sell.
What was that? The Tom McGee was the guy that was going to be a huge.
Yeah.
Vince thought was going to be a huge deal, and he was really athletic and great look, and didn't have the damnedest clue what he was doing.
Yeah, it's just and like I mean, there are guys that have hit, but a lot of those guys have been fans or just freaks. Like Vader played for the Rams, and like Luger and Ron Simmons obviously came from football, but that was a different era too, where you could brute force your way to being good.
So
Because
it's
Scott Steiner's talked about that. There's a great shoot interview with him and Ron Simmons, which if you want to know, fun fact, I guess Ron Simmons' grandma was a Bob Armstrong mark.
Oh yeah.
Because he he grew up in the South, but But
Yeah.
like Scott Steiner was talking about, yeah, I wanted to team with my brother, but I sucked. And he's like, so you know what I did? He's like, I went to Memphis. He's like, they paid for shit, but you got to work every night. So he's like, I got real good in a year because I was working every single night.
Yeah. The thing about that, the thing about wrestling that I think gets left out is that it is a very unique skill set to be successful in, because you have to have some measure of athleticism, obviously. You have to have some measure of performance to it, obviously. But then you also have to have improvisational skills. You also have to be able to have a level of nonverbal charisma, verbal and nonverbal charisma that you're able to project. And to find that particular mix of skills is not easy. And that's evidenced by the fact that the number of times that you know, how many times did Jim Ross drag a football player in thinking this is going to be great and it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And
you're going to miss out on like, what, like, you're not going to get a CM Punk doing this.
no, and the other thing about this is that because you guys had hit on it earlier, but I'm gonna expound a little bit. Having good veterans around makes a world of difference. People who are smart enough. You already mentioned Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho. Here, one of my favorite reinvention examples is Keiji Muto. From Great Muta into Keiji Muto was it? He didn't just change he changed everything and it worked.
His style, his look, like all that.
Everything. Terry Funk. For God's sake, if you had Dusty Rhodes around in this point in time, WWE would do anything with him. I mean, then again, they didn't do jack shit with him the first time.
Well, I mean, he did cultivate the good NXT and like all of that talent that Triple H just takes the credit for now. But no, the good NXT, remember, was Ryan Ward and Dusty Rhodes, and he cultivated all the people.
And if people think that that's not true, look at how NXT Black and Gold and all that was booked versus how Triple H has booked the WWE in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Go back and watch NXT Black and Gold.
Yeah.
Did they do storylines where people where it was the same people doing the same stables and everything like that for like a year? No, it wasn't. And don't give me like, well, they had a high roster turnover. It's like, no.
I mean, that did. I will say though,
no,
that there was
guys
a point.
Were there long enough.
There was a point where, like when Triple H took over, that was like a criticism. People saying like, "Well, his booking's so good," which it wasn't. But it was like, well, yeah, it's easy to book when that guy's going to be gone in 6 months, and you don't have to like figure out what to do with him in 4 years. Which when AEW came around, then you had the Undisputed Era in the same place for like 3 years, and then it kind of all fell apart because they would keep having war games that they would lose, and then nothing would happen.
3 years.
It might have been 4. I don't remember.
They had, I think they had like 4 war games in a row, and it was the Undisputed Era.
Yeah,
and it's like they should not have been here.
No, because like when you look at like the original Horseman angle, I think went from like late 85 into 86, and then by 87 like they had changed the membership around because they got rid of Ole after a big loss. But like the Horseman thing was essentially wrapped up by like 88. Is like they were still around as a group, but like the angle as it was done. Or like look at the Dangerous Alliance. That wasn't even a year.
Yeah, that was super quick. As an aside, I've mentioned this on the show before, a long time ago, but going back to 2019, I remember like I was at the last Mania I went to, and probably the last one I will go to, because even if I was at the WWE and wanted to go, I'm not gonna like take a second mortgage on the house just to attend WrestleMania because that's how much it costs. But last Mania I went to was 2019 in New York, and I went with some observer people and a couple of friends of the show, and I left home that Monday. friends of the show, Christy Petrillo and David Gonzalez went, and that's the infamous clip where it was, the Mania is typically us, and you'd have guys debut the day after Mania, like on Raw, on SmackDown, and it was like a match. I forget who it was. It was a tag team match.
It was the bar that people were expecting. People were expecting the Undisputed Era, and it was the bar.
I forget who the opponents were. It might have been New Day or somebody, but it was the bar, Sheamus and Claudio. And there's a great clip that went, I think, semi-viral, at least in like wrestling circles, where Damian is eating a hot dog, like out in the street, like screaming. It's like, who gives a fuck about the bar? Because he thought it was going to be the Undisputed Era, and it should have been. It should have been. That should have been like their main roster debut, and all those guys should have like run like ragged over everyone. And it had been like this new big major heel stable. It never happened.
You know what I'm always going to remember about Dames is, so for people who don't know, so we've been doing this podcast for a long time, but there were a couple of like failed like mini attempts at it where we might have gone like 6 to 10 episodes a couple years before we hit it. And there was one where a bunch of us were on there. And I don't remember what we were talking about, but Damien was on with us, and he was high as fuck. And I think he didn't realize he muted himself. So we're talking, and then this motherfucker is like using power tools to put furniture together. So we just hear this drill going, and we're like, what the fuck?
What are you doing, dude?
Yeah, because he was building his belt shelf behind him. And he didn't have it on push to talk.
Yeah, it was like, I'm sorry, guys, that was me. He's like, I'm sorry, guys, I've smoked a lot of weed.
One of those shows was the one where I convinced people that being a Steve Blackman fan was awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think Chris was the one that was like, that is the best reasoning I've ever heard for someone being a fan of Steve Blackman. You might have convinced me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that still exists or not. But
I don't know.
Hey, I'm a little proud of that one.
I'd have to look. I might have them stashed away somewhere. But
Chris is a longtime fan, but I'm also very heartened because his son is randomly a big San Antonio Spurs fan. So I actually I've got like a gift for him, because when we went to Texas a few weeks back, I bought him like a hat and like a towel or something. Like I got him some stuff.
I'm not a San Antonio fan, but they do have one of my favorite NBA players on their roster of all time.
Who?
David Robinson.
Oh, right. Yeah, David Robinson.
Probably one of the best human beings that ever played basketball.
One of the best. San Antonio like quietly has some of the best basketball players of all time that kind of fly under the radar.
I feel like Robinson.
David Robinson's one of them.
I feel like David Robinson doesn't if you like lived in that era. I feel like he's a little. I feel like modern fans don't know him. Well, they don't know a lot of the old players, honestly.
Oh, people at this point, like they don't. One of the other people who's one of the best of all time, and even like based on stats, he's one of the best. Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
And people kind of just like, oh, Tim Duncan, like because he's been like kind of out of the league for like 10 years, or his heyday was like 10 years ago. He's already like forgotten.
Yeah, and people don't even remember like other teams, like what a force of nature like Kevin Garnett was in his heyday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like Dennis Rodman. I don't think people realize like what, I mean, also a San Antonio Spur.
Yeah.
But I don't think people realize like what a monster he was in his day. They kind of just remember him for his being a weirdo.
His antics.
Yeah.
But that's how he got away with
his apologetics for North Korea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate.
I remember the NBA Finals era that was the Spurs versus the Cavaliers, I think.
Yeah, they swept the Cavs that year pretty hard.
I think the thing I remember that came out of it was that because I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods at the time, so ESPN was just on all the TVs constantly. And it was the conversation about how Tim Duncan's really good. He just doesn't make a big show of it, so people don't seem to notice. And I was like, do you not look at stats or what? But
also, is it Robert Horry that like played with the Bulls and he played with like the Spurs during their big ones? There's someone from that era that has like 50 gajillion rings because he would just sit on the bench and come off the bench and kill it for all these teams. I think it was Robert Horry was one of them.
It would not surprise me, but I can't.
Weird basketball talk from 30 years
anyway,
ago.
Back to
I want to talk about
basis on this.
There is someone that Dave Meltzer talked about that was offered a 50% pay cut and took it, and he did not specify who it is, but the internet jabber seems to think it's either LA Knight or Sami Zayn. Was there another name in there?
It could be Damian Priest.
So, if I remember the qualifications, please check me on this.
Yeah.
It was someone who was pushed but not a tippy top guy.
And he thought he thought the creative didn't work, but blamed himself for it.
And also thought that he probably could have made a lot of money going somewhere else.
Yeah, and and it's specified because Shad and I had this conversation because we both had the same thought, and I had verified it. It is specified that it is a he. It is not, because my first thought was Bailey, and I'm like, and that's why I looked. I'm like, no, he said he, so it can't be Bailey,
right? And so
look, okay, sorry, Shad.
One of the thoughts that occurred, you listed 3, but a thought that occurred to me out of that, someone who was dissatisfied, didn't think that they had done good enough with the creative, blamed themselves, wasn't a tippy top guy, but also could have done really well somewhere else. Chad Gable's name also crossed my mind on that front.
Yeah, but he's never been more than a mid-carder, I don't think.
Well, but he was pushed as Grande Americano too.
Yeah,
until he got hurt, and then we had Grande Americano Nuevo or whatever. So
yeah, they have Wolfgang, whatever that guy's name is, the guy who was part
of Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah, Kaiser. They have who I think that was basically, it started as a very kind of racist gimmick.
Yeah.
But to Ludwig Kaiser's credit, he either knows Spanish or learned it. Apparently in real life, because people have found this out, is dating maybe a Mexican woman or a Latina woman. And actually seems he's playing the gimmick straight, that he's actually a luchador and is pro Mexico and speaks Spanish and is actually a babyface to the point where people actually Mexican fans are embracing him because he's being he took a racist gimmick and oddly made it to the extent that you can be in WWE, made it respectful, where he's actually showing being respectful and playing it straight. He's not being little comments where it's actually disrespectful to Mexican or luchador culture, which to his credit. But that's Chad Gable is an interesting one. I hadn't thought about him. It could be the case. I don't know how old he is, but I do remember, remember his contract was up. And there was talk about how I think AEW did put feelers out to see if he would sign with them, and they re-signed with WWE. He's a guy that would fit with AEW in terms of the style.
Yeah.
And I think the implication was he signed with the WWE and he got paid doing that. They had to pay him a better contract, so he wouldn't go to AEW. But then, if you recall, as soon as that happened, he started losing all his matches, and then they he disappeared, and they stuck him with the Grande Americano gimmick.
Yeah,
and was having him do that, and then he got hurt, so that's when they brought in Ludwig Kaiser to replace him, and now he's back. I think feuding as the second Grande Americano.
So,
but
this is.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to add. This is a little bit of context added in. Kaiser's girlfriend was the host of AAA, Andrea Bazarte. I'm probably mangling that, but I remember reading about it. He started dating her and got into lucha, and when they gave him that gimmick, he's like, "No, I want to do a good job with this." So he's learning. He went through the trouble of studying and learning how to. I don't know, for lack of a better term, I know this isn't the best way to say it, but learned how to do lucha properly. And like is respecting what it's supposed to be, and it's going over like gangbusters. Who would have thought?
To his credit, like, and that's AAA is obviously like a third, an afterthought compared to a lot of other stuff. So I'm sure like he's flying under the radar there.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised that also that a European is actually doing this. He's more respectful for a different culture than some of these American people who are running the WWE. But anyway,
WWE has no respect for like any history or tradition in wrestling, so it's not a shock.
It could be Chad Gable. I didn't think about that, but I don't know. I don't know.
I wouldn't describe him that way.
I feel like the match, based upon that metric, that it's like he's not a tippy top guy, but he was really hot. I didn't read it. Maybe I read it wrong. I didn't read Meltzer's line where it's like creative didn't like do what they could with him, but he felt it was his fault. I didn't read that. I took it more like this person was like hot or had an angle that was hot, and creative just failed him. They didn't utilize this person as they should have. And reading
why
that,
would you take
to
a pay
me,
cut?
I'm
why would
thinking
you take a pay cut? Why I read it that way is they took a 50% pay cut. So I feel like for a person to take the pay cut, they'd be like, okay, well, they tried with me and it didn't work out. So obviously, like, I failed in some way. That's kind of where I see the pay cut coming in, is like, that's kind of them saying like, well, okay, like I kind of deserve it because it didn't work when I was at the top. So, okay, I understand. That's kind of like my read on it. I would disagree with Zayn or Knight if they felt that way, but I could see that being the logic.
To me, I feel like it probably is Zayn. That's the way it reads to me based upon those metrics.
I couldn't imagine
based on that, it's like, well, if he had left, if he left and went to AEW, would Tony Khan sign him? Yeah, he probably would. I can see him, Zayn, putting myself in his brain. He's like, is he in his 40s? Or he's got to be close to it if he's not in his 40s.
Yeah.
And he has, the stuff he did with the Bloodline was genuinely hot and interesting, to the point where I was like, fuck it, put the title on him.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't do it.
No.
Of course, they were going to have, it'll be Cody. And I think that was the year, like,
that was the chicken year.
Fucking joke. Yeah.
It's like, I know his shoulders are fucked up, but he's been healthy for quite a few years now. But where I kind of don't think it's him is because I think AEW would sign him to a big deal, and I think New Japan would pay him a lot of money. Like, I think he's a guy that if he left, between the dates he would get between Japan, possibly Mexico, and AEW, like, that guy would be making 7 figures if he left. So I can't imagine why he would stay.
I definitely get the feeling that from him, like, he probably thinks he's broken down. And yeah, you're right. Like, he probably would get a big contract, but I don't.
Because could you imagine headlining a pay-per-view with Kenny Omega and Sami Zayn, or Will Ospreay and Sami Zayn? Like he would.
I don't see it. I honestly get the feeling from him that he's probably one of these guys who thinks like, well, WWE is like the top of the mountain. Like, I'm not in my 20s anymore where I can start over. Like, I'm not gonna go do the grind. I mean, AJ Styles was probably gonna, like, Tony Khan was allegedly gonna open the piggy bank for him, and AJ Styles was like, no. And he probably is a little too, like, he might be too fed brained, or he might just be like, I'm old, I don't want the grind.
Well, AJ's done like the hardcore grind after like TNA left. Like, he went to prove them wrong, and he grinded. I still think AJ could end up in AEW, but
we'll see, because I mean, the rumor, like, earlier this year, well, people like who've talked about a lot, like Jacob line, said like, I don't know for sure, but my feeling is that he's retired, but that his contract isn't actually up until later in the year.
Yeah.
And
which is funny because they wouldn't even let TNA use him for a couple of dates after that, because because they have to fuck TNA and because they want to prove that they're not a monopoly by having TNA
Yeah.
on TV, and then they just fuck them at every possible like.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand that. It's like, hey, has it ever crossed your mind to just not do that? But it's like, oh, here I am screwing TNA again.
They don't understand that stuff because, like, I understand they have to do the bidding or whatever, but like they lost so much goodwill over pulling the talent on Mania weekend. Like that really fucked them hard.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, like Carlos Silva was like, oh, he made claims that it's like, oh, like AEW venues, and it's like Meltzer even went into that claim. It's like the way we is like TNA wants to run a facility, and AEW comes in and says no, they're not allowed to, and pulls leverage where it's like, if you want us back because we'll pull bigger numbers, you can't have TNA. That's like how we understand blocking, because the WWE does that to AEW. WWE has, it's documented. They have gone in certain cities.
They have you can't have a wrestling event in this venue for so many days.
6 months.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know how like the timeline works, because it might be before and after like so long. Because I know they tried something and venues like, no, you're not doing that, because they tried to like make it even worse.
Yeah. But WWE has done that to AEW.
Yeah.
And
well, they
Carlos
used to do it
almost like implied.
They used to do it to Crockett, remember? In the 80s, because Ted Turner actually put an end to this shit, because that's one of the things they did. So they would make it, if you took a WWE pay-per-view, you couldn't take another wrestling company's pay-per-view for so many days, which pretty much made it impossible to have like a pay-per-view on most providers for Crockett. And then Turner came in because they had the media connection, like, no, we're not doing this shit anymore. And then the pay-per-view provider's like, oh, okay. Bigger dog came in.
Yeah.
Like, that's over.
Yeah. It's that Carlos Silva kind of implied that AEW is pulling that, but Meltzer said, like, I haven't heard like them doing that. But what I think he's talking about is that with a lot of venues, just in general, or markets, even if you have a wrestling show in like a venue, there may be some sort of prohibition where it's like before or after, not blocking, like you can't use the facility, more like if you want to run the same facility, you maybe can't run it like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, because in terms of like the local marketing promotion for the show,
well, they don't want to do it
because people will get confused. People will get confused with the people will legit get confused which wrestling show it is. So it may be like, well, you can't use the same facility for like a couple weeks, a month, until after, because if you market it in the show, people are going to get confused. So they have that kind of like prohibition. So
I think it's hard as a venue
not blocking like we understand, because it's not like, oh, you can't use the same facility. It's like, we got to wait like 4 weeks or whatever.
I think it's hard as a venue to like have wrestling that close together too, and like sell, especially like a venue that AEW and TNA might run, which I don't even agree with, because I don't think I know, because AEW has been kind of upscaling a little bit, like they're running like the next step up, and I don't see why TNA would run like buildings that big. Like, cause I think TNA would want to run like 12 to 1,500 seat buildings, and I think AEW will do that in some markets, but AEW has been tending to shoot for like the 2,500 to 5,000 seat arenas since they're
TNA has a pay-per-view coming up, and it's like, I think the ticket setup was like maybe like 2,500, and they haven't even sold, I think, half that.
Yeah,
and it's not like it's 6 months in advance. It's like, I think in the next, this month.
Did I send you that thing that Meltzer was talking about with TNA, where he's like, Dana White used to like call him, and he was just like perplexed how TNA got like these great ratings and they couldn't sell pay-per-view. And he said Dana White was just like dumbfounded by how like they had these people watching and they couldn't sell them a show. Like, that's a damning indictment, I think, of like where they were on the Spike TV era, that you have like the owner of the UFC that kind of does understand fight promotion being like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah. it's being in that weird place where you get lots of people to watch, but they're not invested enough to spend money on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's a terrible line to walk, and they did it so successfully.
Oh yeah, totally.
It will forever be LOL TNA.
Yeah.
No, it went away when it was Impact, but
Well,
Yeah.
as long as it's under that name, it's seems to be holding true. But
yeah.
it's a killer because having this one person who's agreeing to this pay cut is just emboldening TKO to offer it to more people. Like if one person did it, surely someone else will do it.
I mean, other people will do it because, like, I think, like, I'm not picking on her because it just comes up a lot and we talk about her a lot. Like, if you're Bailey, I think your motivation to leave is probably very small because, like I said, I'm not picking on her. I was a big fan of her for a long time. I still like her, but she's never recovered from that ACL tear. Never. She's never been the same. Like, she's washed now. And I think, and the problem is, I think she knows. I think she's even said the knee still hurts, like that leg still hurts sometimes. Like, so I think for her, whereas before that injury, I think she would have considered like testing the waters, but I think she knows just like, look, I don't want to start over another promotion. Like, I can't go as good anymore. Like, all these women in like Japan and stuff are just so much better than me. And like, I have a bum leg now. Like, I'm just going to stay here, work like 8 minutes a month and just cash my checks. Like, I could see someone like her doing it. And I think it does make sense for probably where she's at in her headspace with it. Because it's like, yeah, like if it fucking hurts to wrestle because of an injury, like you don't want to have to go somewhere and beat the shit out of yourself to prove yourself for probably like harder money to earn and more grinding. Like I could see in her instance why.
What I also think she's doing, and she's said, "Oh no, like I'm just trying to get back to the wrestling business." She's run a couple of these, what she calls Lodestone. That's like the brand, like how she's branding it, Lodestone seminars. And in both, like I think she's run two. In both seminars, conveniently, if it's like for women, conveniently, like the majority or several people that she did the seminars with got at least tryouts with the WWE, and it's like, okay, you're just running a WWE recruitment. It does, but it's like that. I'm anti WWE, so it's like.
But I mean, even
you're trying to be Fed strongest soldier / like you're trying to sell it. It's like, I'm just trying to get back to the industry, and it's like, no, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make yourself.
But my thing is,
yourself insurance.
But my thing with that is, like, let's say she opened an independent wrestling school and she's not affiliated with WWE, but you're getting these students and you're wanting to help them out. Like, of course you're gonna flex and call like someone you know in the be like, hey, I got this talent that's pretty good. Why don't you give them a look? Because then you're getting your student like a payday, and then as a school, you get the extra of like, hey, I'm getting these people in WWE. Like, it helps you get more money for that, but it also helps you help your students out. So like, I don't see an issue with that because that is natural. Because I think like, if Dustin opened his own school, he's probably like
Dustin did.
Well, but like, and his people tend to go to Ring of Honor and AEW. Like, I just think that's like the natural pipeline you develop. So I don't really see that. Doesn't shock me because I think that's kind of like. That's where contacts are, and like I think you're going to help your students.
Regardless, it's still a.
Now, I would question if she's fed brained if you were to bring her into AEW. Like, that's kind of a issue.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I know I watched an interview where she talks about the fact that her knee still hurts, and so it's either the tear was so bad it messed up other stuff, or the repair wasn't good enough. I don't know what. But there's gonna be a million things.
But she was also, I think, where it hurts her is I think her style depended heavily on her mobility and like explosiveness as an athlete, and she doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
And I think the other problem she would have is because of her close association with Mercedes, she's going to get compared to Mercedes, and few people are going to be able to like have that success and overcome some early setbacks like Mercedes
Yeah.
did. And she's just not as young as Mercedes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I know I'm digressing, and this is a conversation killer, but there's something I wanted to say earlier. Um, Part of the reason that I think it's likely we may see New Day show up in AEW is something Brad said about Bobby Eaton a lot. Bobby Eaton was such a nice guy that they kept him on the payroll for years after he stopped wrestling. It seems like, from everything I can find, that is what everybody says about um, Kofi and Xavier Creed Woods, whatever. They are apparently the nicest, happiest, best guys to be around, and folks are heartbroken that they're not going to be there anymore. And that's probably, I mean, yeah, great matches is also great, but think about it. If you could recruit someone that you know is a great, nice guy to come work with you, you know, you do it, right? Matt's smiling. He's licking his chops. He's getting ready to come after me.
No, I'm not. You're right. People have that opinion of the New Day, and it's deserved. I'm laughing because that was the reaction. That was the reaction this weekend. That everyone's like, "Oh man, the New Day!" Like, and people giving a heartfelt. It's like they didn't die; they just left the company. But in that time, in the same weekend, Eric Bischoff. I haven't watched it because I don't watch this crap. But Eric Bischoff did like a YouTube video, whatever, like that, basically saying Aleister Black deserved to get fired. And then Booker T had his show where Booker T was like, Aleister Black, man, name one good match he's ever had, and like notable match he's ever had. And it's like, oh man, like they can't say good things about New Day. Aleister Black gets leaves, and now now it can be said. Everyone's like, basically, I don't hate that. I don't like that fucker.
Oh,
Like it was he.
I
And it's like, how up your own ass do you have to be that the company that you actively like big leagued and fucked over AEW to get back to fires you after a year, and then the people that you worked with there or who were like
Didn't
he
like
would like
you.
kiss WWE's ass like Eric Bischoff and doesn't like AEW are like, yeah, that guy fucking deserved it. Who gives a shit about that guy? And it's like, oh man, I gotta laugh.
That's
I gotta
true.
laugh about
That's
it.
true.
I will defend
that-
him in that he was in one of my favorite AEW matches, and that was it was the House of Black versus Penta, Pac, and Eric Redbeard.
Oh, that was really
pre-show.
good.
I don't remember how much he did in that, but that was a great match. But I mean, the thing is with him is like I never got it with him, like to a degree. Like people were like, he always felt like, especially on like Squared Circle, like there's a lot of fake shit on Squared Circle. There's a lot of people that just go along with the echo chamber, and there's a lot of people that get a lot of smoke blown up their ass there, that people just kind of do that because they think they're supposed to. Killer Cross is one of those people that kind of gets that reaction over there because they're still gaslighting themselves that he was like really over and he's this big deal, even though no one will use him. But he always felt like that guy that a lot of people just said they liked because they thought you're supposed to like him. Because even when he was like Tommy End, I was like, he's okay, but like I don't look forward to anything he does.
He has a different ring style that stood out, and as long as we weren't leaning super de-duper hard into the spoopy side, the presentation kind of, the death metal guy who wears dark clothes and kicks the hell out of people. Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah, that
vibe,
was fine, but like he turned into like
Spoop.
MMA Undertaker. Well, Undertaker.
People called him Dutch Muay Thai Undertaker.
Yeah.
I liked him in NXT Black and Gold.
Yeah, but he was just this weird like gothy martial arts guy. Like he's
yeah. When I liked the whole aesthetic of the House of Black.
When
But
he was
then,
being
like,
like
he's a great
Kruger from Highlander is when he was enjoyable.
Kurgan.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kurgan.
Yeah.
Basically,
Best
he's a
villain
great
ever.
example of like, yeah. He's a great example of like, and then the bell rang. It's like whatever happened to him, and people said like, oh, he has a back injury, which then translated into the joke of it's like he has a back injury, like he has extreme pain in his back and shoulders anytime his shoulders are on the mat for 3 seconds, longer than 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's got shoulder allergy.
yeah, it's weird because he gave, I remember like reading like a social media post where he talked in depth about a back injury and that was like debilitating, and then he had some sort of treatment, and it's like it all of a sudden like they did something. It almost sounded like a chiropractic treatment, but maybe what? But they did something, and it's like all the pain like went away
I
all of a
don't think
sudden.
he ever. If you look at his,
I don't think
if you objectively look at his AEW run, like they were trying to work around something with him because he didn't work a lot of singles matches, and like even when he was in the trios matches, he wasn't like, he was obviously doing stuff, but the other guys were there to keep him like limited.
It became the whole thing where it's like, well, he doesn't want to do jobs, and I think there must have been something to that because that's the rep he got, and there's kind of chatter even from people at AEW that don't want him there.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe that's the case. They felt he was like he thought he was big league in them. He thought it was too big for them.
So my personal theory is based on things he said, and my own personal demons is, I think he struggles with depression, and he self-sabotages a lot, which I think, okay, again, like that is an explanation, but that does not take responsibility out of him. But I'm saying if you're dealing with a person that's depressed a lot and they self-sabotage a lot, that is a fucking nightmare to deal with, especially in like something, because if he's in self-sabotage mode, he's not going to want to do anything. It's going to turn into I don't want a job. And then like, so it can be like, well, yeah, that guy's depressed, but also like he fucking sucks to deal with when he's depressed. So I could see AEW being like, no, he's too hard to deal with. And then he goes to WWE and they're just like, well, I think in WWE he needed to change his act more because his act is not like a WWE crowd act.
This is the term that I use for spooky stuff that doesn't work is spoop, because it goes from being you trying to be spooky to it turning into being silly. It's now spoopy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened. And people blamed it on Vince in that first main roster run of like,
yeah, but he did
he had his little casket raised and they put that like haunted house creak behind it, and it's like, well, yeah, that didn't help, but
he did the same. He did the same act in AEW though,
and it
actually got worse because they didn't like put a lot of creative constraints, and then he came back to WWE and he kept doing the same fucking gimmick. Like that's been part of his problem.
No change.
He won't evolve.
There was no change, and people kind of got bored to it. And how can I put this? It was not, and I'm not saying that was him or any company or whatever, it was not as epic as your classic Undertaker entrance. Like the classic Undertaker entrance, that's one of the regrets I have, is never seeing one of those live. Because that would have been...
I got to see one.
Yeah. But, I mean, what was it about that one is... It's the music, it's the low lights, it's the slow walk, but it's not like...
It's Percy
too much guitar and lightning everywhere and swinging lights and big masks and stuff like you cross over from like, okay, this is really cool and I'm getting into it, to like, you are trying too hard.
Well, and there's a couple things. He doesn't like, you don't see a lot of Undertaker's face during the entrances, but he doesn't have the body charisma of Taker, but he doesn't have Percy there either. Like Percy is part of the...
Oh, because that was a contrast.
Yeah.
Because you'd have stoic Taker and then chewing on the drapes Paul Bearer going. Yeah.
And even in the matches, like before, even in the matches before, like he kind of... Well, and the thing is, Undertaker fucking evolved. Because by the time... Because he was... like he was in an era where he was on TV less, and they would take him off TV. But like by the time he got to like 96 and 97, his character had evolved a lot.
Yeah, he was not the same character he had been.
And like
he was not the Wild West zombie mortician anymore.
Yeah, but even when he was that guy, what people I don't think understand about that is like Kane kind of pulled it off because he has a lot of charisma, but like Undertaker, like to pull off what Undertaker did, you had to have a massive amount of charisma to pull off like that stone-faced, like early Undertaker where he doesn't talk a lot. Like there's a lot of charisma in there that I think people don't like appreciate.
Taker had the ability to project menace in a way that a lot of people don't. And it's being able to project that menace that goes, because if anybody just stands there and they don't move and they're like, I'm like, oh, I'm being like the under. It's like, you're not doing it.
And
there's a means of projecting that menace through his mannerisms and stuff that's hard to pin down.
And he also, I think the other thing people don't appreciate and why I don't think a lot of people could do it, and why Kane kind of did it, is that early Undertaker, and he did keep it a bit when he wasn't fat, but early Undertaker is hyper athletic.
Yeah.
So he's not as stiff. Like you have this guy that can move, like he gets big ups on things. Like he can do crazy stuff. So like that does help his gimmick. And like, I don't know, like Aleister Black just doesn't have any of that stuff. I don't even think he's a bad worker, but he doesn't have that level of charisma. And like he's doing, like you said, he's doing too much. Like he's trying to do this gothy, spooky death metal thing, and it's like, pick a lane, dude.
Yeah. It's
because I'll use a great example of someone that understood picking a lane in AEW. He hasn't done it in WWE, but like Penta, like when Penta changes his makeup up and he becomes the more hardcore, like evil, spooky Penta Zero, like he does visual things to signify like, okay, this is a different, like this is a slight variation of my gimmick.
It is there's a clear marker that something is different now.
Yeah. And he changes like his mannerisms and stuff too, and he cuts out the goofy stuff. But like that is someone that does, like when he would shift his gimmick into the more serious gimmick, like he changed things, like he did visual things, and like Aleister Black hasn't changed like anything significantly with his look. Even his face paint, he hasn't changed that much in like years.
Not really. And yeah. Well, and here's the other thing is, if you're supposed to be the figurehead for the faction, I don't want to say leader necessarily, but if you're supposed to be the figurehead for the faction, it sure doesn't help when someone else in that faction's more over than you are. Because Brody King would definfinitely got more over.
I think Buddy was more over than him at points too.
And here's the other great thing, because AEW did not, like, he left, and there were a lot of people who didn't say anything until here he just got released. They went a year minus a day not saying anything. But if you go back and you watch that Dynamite, I think it was a Dynamite, not a Collision, but the Dynamite that was the day after Malachi Alistair, whatever, after he left, they had 2 matches, one with Matthews and one with Brody King, and after the match, both the people in the match with him were like, you are worth more than people have been saying you are, and you don't have anybody holding you back now. And to just throw that on TV should have been a huge flashing sign of like, hey, we think more of you than what you had to do because you were saddled with somebody whose shoulders had a canvas allergy.
Well, I think Edge had an issue with him when they had their match. I don't know.
I think you're. Oh, that match went from being a classic cage match where you can only be pinfall or submission to the day of being changed to an escape the cage match.
And then Edge broke his foot.
And everybody noticed the change. Everyone's like, huh. Look at that. Isn't that a funny change to have had happen?
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it? I hate
Yep.
the escape the cage stipulation
Those are
so much.
stupid. It's always been. That is because I understand. So escape the cage is dumb. I understand leaving through the door because the door, you can do stuff with the door. Like I'll use a great example. I don't know if we watched it, but like the Bruno San Martino and Larry Zabisco um cage match where like
Yeah.
Bruno just beats the shit out of Larry and he's like, I'm done with you, and just walks out the door. Like
Yeah,
that's
that
how
was actually pretty cool.
that's how you can make
Yeah.
the door work. But
can,
escaping
but
doesn't.
it's. I am of the opinion that the escape the cage for a win stipulation.
No, it's dumb. I think the door is fine. The door is
trash.
fine. The door is fine, but the door does not. You can do things with the door, and it doesn't require the contrivances.
Just don't make that the stipulation for winning. If you bust the door open over the course of the match, you break the chain or the lock or whatever. Okay, you've done that. But the whole point is that now the two of you are locked in there together, so that one of you can't get away from the other, or people can't get in. The escaping the cage thing,
yeah, we hate
misses the point.
We hate each other so much we're gonna spend the whole time running away from each other. Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah. And so it's
that, and it tends to get you the blue cage from old WWE, which I think sucks. Like chain link is the way to go.
It just blocks your vision too much. The old blue cage blocks too much of it. It's like the proto version of the Punjabi prison, where in that match you couldn't see a damn thing.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And the blue cage is like 0.3 Punjabi prison visibility.
I still think the door is fine as a win condition if you get out if you leave the door, because there's all sorts of things you can do with the door. Like I said, the Bruno match, it was cool, but then that can open up things for like a heel to slam the door in your head. It also gives like, because I think with the door too, is if you're doing it with a chicken shit heel, you do have to give the chicken shit heel an out. That's not like just pure winning.
Okay, my answer to that is going to be that if you're going to have a blow off and the chicken shit heel wins, don't make it a cage match. That's going to be my answer, is just don't do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have them win, but I think you need to put that stipulation out there so that you can tease like the chicken shit heel getting away with it.
No, I just hate it.
I think you have to give them that out, and you can find ways to thwart them, like have another face hold the door closed, maybe do the door slam on them, have the face like stop them. But I think like you can use the door. The door does not cause the stupidity escaping does.
If you just make it that the door is there, then yes, you can play with that. And I could totally get behind making use of it. But I still feel like going out the door as a win condition goes against what the match is supposed to be. You know, you've got a chicken shit heel and a big powerful baby face, and the baby face is just hucking him into the cage, and he hucks the heel into the door, and the chain breaks, and now the door's open, and the heel's like kind of crawled out, and the face comes out to get him, and he slams the door on him to start taking over. Cool, down with that. But not cool with he's crawled out and gotten to the floor and now he wins. It's like, no, that is it. It pisses me off because it's against the spirit of what it's supposed to be, and it's lazy.
Well, the cage match is fucked as a gimmick anyway, because someone always interferes, and because even like the Jon Moxley Samoa Joe cage match stopped no interference at all.
Okay, here, my example of a cage match that had interference, but it did not ruin the effect. Bucks versus Lucha Brothers. and here comes Cutler, and
Yeah,
he hucks the bag into the ring.
That's different though, because even the
That's-
'92 War Games had Medusa climbing the cage and like dropping the cell phone between the chain links.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is I'm good with that.
Yeah, but that's different though. That's intentional. That's intentional cheating, but you're also working within the confines. I'm talking about like run-ins, which happen.
That's my thing. I don't want that because it's a cage match. You have someone run in to try and get involved and they can't get in, down with that. And they can't get in, so they got to slide something through the bars or something like that.
Yeah, that's
okay.
fine.
I'm cool with that. But I myself am being like, if we're having a cage match, we're not doing this shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If I was the booker, that would be my.
That's what I'm saying. The cage match is kind of fucked right now, especially like, Hell in the Cell. Like Hell in the Cell, they screwed up with the Fiend and Seth Rollins, and it's never recovered.
Oh, they screwed it up before that. Because what the whole point of the Hell in the Cell was that Shawn Michaels kept running away from the Undertaker, and they needed something bigger to contain this. Shawn Michaels kept running away, DX kept getting in, so we had to keep Shawn Michaels in there, and DX couldn't get in. And so Taker's just beating the shit out of Shawn in this cell, right? First Hell in the Cell, what happens? Kane walks down there, rips the door off of it, and tombstones Taker.
Yeah, but that was a debut, though.
That's gotta be Kane.
That's gotta be Kane. You know, it's mid chicken with great sauce. It's gotta be Kane.
But my thing with that is you are right, but I do think like that made Kane is like a character.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm gonna say is, if that was not, this is gonna sound like I'm either having cognitive dissonance or splitting hairs or whatever. But if that had not been what the finish of the match was, I would feel differently. If it was after the match and Kane shows up and does then why don't I care? Because it didn't alter the outcome. You didn't invalidate the premise of the match for the finish.
I still giggle when he set Jim Ross on fire. I know it was supposed to be serious, but that's still hilarious.
I watched it live. I watched it live and that happened, and I laughed my ass. Like he's meant to be like this dastardly villain, and I just thought it was the dumbest shit possible that it just made me laugh.
Well, I think he was getting cheered at first when he unmasked too. Like they really screwed that. Because the thing was, like, he actually got a lot of steam at first when he unmasked.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put him in that Shane McMahon thing and absolutely killed him.
Well, I mean, Triple H kind of killed the momentum coming out of that anyway, so...
No, that was after the Shane thing, I'm pretty sure. No, that was before. He wasn't unmasked for the Katie Vick thing.
Yeah?
No, he wasn't.
That was
2002. He unmasked in 2003. Because he was teaming with Hurricane when that happened, and they were both masked.
Yeah.
And then he unmasked after that.
The Katie Vick thing, it was Triple H was wearing the mask with the cutout here.
Yeah.
Because he was talking during that skit.
Yeah, he had the smaller mask because he was talking at that point.
Yeah.
But he hadn't unmasked yet.
Though I'm saying that the unmasking happened at the end of the Katie Vick angle.
No, it wasn't that angle. Because that was like the fall of 2002, and he unmasked in like May, June of 2003.
You're usually right, but for my own sake, I have to look this up.
Okay.
Like you've got a good memory for this, but I have to satiate myself at this point.
I'm pretty sure because I don't think the Katie Vick thing led to any sort of... I don't remember who he lost the mask against, honestly.
Triple H.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Of course it will.
Because the Shane McMahon thing was the next year, and like I could not see them have like dragging that out so long before they fucked it up in that era.
It's something happened after that the they went through the work to like make unmasked Kane into a nasty heel, and he tombstoned Linda up on the stage. Now, it was the safest tombstone that ever happened in existence.
Kane unmasked
Because
on
Linda
the
McMahon had like that much space between her head and the stage.
Kane unmasked on the June 23rd, 2003 episode of Monday Night Raw after he lost the Mask vs. title match against Triple H. And goddamn it, the Reds lost again. That's like 5 in a row they've lost after starting like 20-11.
God.
Sorry, I just had to rant because I was
Yeah.
I did that popped up while I was looking. I was just like, damn it.
No.
He lost on June 23rd, 2003, and KD Vick would have been like October of 2002.
So, hang on. I think what I'm doing is that the feud was a long-running thing, and like the Katie Vick thing happened earlier in it, and the unmasking was at the end of it.
Yeah.
So, okay, not they weren't directly next to each other, but they were connected.
I think he just gotten done burying Kevin Nash in their program.
I don't know, man. Okay, we've been way in the weeds on this.
That whole era still pisses me off because he killed. They still haven't recovered from that, honestly.
We go through that whole thing with Kane. We build him up just to knock him down, take the mask off of him, make him a monster heel, knock him back down again. And through all of this build-up, they never capitalize on doing a big thing. They just do it because Triple H wants to have somebody else to beat.
Yep. And then they like
and
put
the guy
it on,
never gets near the main event again.
I remember someone used to do a Triple H.
Or never gets near the title again, I'm sorry.
I remember someone used to do a Triple H counter on Raw in like 2002 and 2003, and he'd get up to like 40 minutes some weeks of like screen time. I'm like, he's not like his peak era is like really overrated. I will give him that like his best match is like his two best matches are probably the 3 Stages of Hell and then the tag with Canadian Chris's.
Yeah. God, that tag was insane.
That's the best match that's the best tag in WWE history. And it would make my like if I did like a top 100 matches list, it would probably make that list. But his peak work is like really overrated, but like you couldn't even like have Austin on that much without it getting old. Like if you go back to like Hogan's stuff, like he wasn't even on TV every week, even into like the NWO era Nitros.
Well, a lot of the NWO era stuff, he was always right at that 9 o'clock hour segment, and he'd go out there and talk for an entire segment, which is the thing that always got me to change the channel to see what was happening on Raw.
Yeah, but even those are like way shorter than like WWE opening monologues.
Oh yeah, the 45-minute opening monologues Triple H would do.
But like Hogan didn't do that every week though, because there were weeks Hogan wasn't there. Because usually Hogan would show up for that, and then he might pop up for like the antics at the end of the show. And occasionally, like a couple times a year, he might wrestle after he did the monologue.
So he would have his mid-match promo and then something at the end of the show. Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know the term at the time. Like okay, Hogan as a heel. Okay, yes, he was being a good heel, but I also got to the point I just didn't want to see him on TV anymore. And I would flip the channel so I wouldn't have to watch him because I was sick of it. If the thing in the Monday Night Wars era where the heel heat got me to be honest, was the Outsiders. The Outsiders pissed me off so bad.
You didn't like the whole cool heel thing?
No. It, like, as a brand new little mark, this is before I was in all that. Like, everyone know, okay, yes, wrestling's predetermined, fine. But the heel antics got me so much, and I wanted to see him get beat so bad. I would be on the edge of my seat every main event that those tag belts were on the line, begging for whoever to beat them, and getting so frustrated when they would not lose.
I will say, and it still holds up, the Hollywood Hogan NWO entrance with like Voodoo Child and playing the belt like a guitar, still top-notch intro. Like, that is one of the rare instances where like wrestling was actually pulling off cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, as much as the E likes to tell people, it's like, oh, Nitro was it was a hindrance, and then we pivoted, and the Attitude Era. It's like, no, y'all wanted to be the NWO because the NWO had crossover, and you would see NWO shirts. The only person that got close to NWO proliferation, like the amount of NWO shirts out there, Austin.
Yeah.
It sure as shit wasn't DX.
You know what I love about that era? So I love, like, so when he first wins the belt, he spray paints it, and then Luger beats him for it, and they clean it off. And then he wins it back, and he like does an extra big, even more obnoxious spray paint job on the belt. Like, NWO was like twice as big, and I'm just like, oh, that is such a good like dick move.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. I have a fondness for him in that era. Like, he just, like, there's things I don't think wrestlers would like understand what to do anymore. Like, when he was fucking stooging for that old lady in like Knoxville.
Well, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. If you don't have skilled veterans on your roster, even up and down the card, then there are going to be people who don't learn, and you're going to have the decay of your skill that you see.
Yeah,
because you're not going to have anybody around to tell them, like, dude, don't do that. Do this.
Because I think someone asked him like years later, like, well, what would you have done if she would have hit you? He's like, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
He's like, I was hoping she was going to hit me because that would have been gold.
She kept, like, they had this weird push and pull where she like cat hiss at him, and when she'd swing, he had pulled back already. So they had like this weird back and forth on it. But if you don't have those skilled veterans who are somewhere on your card teaching your other people this, then you're going to lose your institutional knowledge.
He might have known her though, because I think she was like a regular in Knoxville. Like you like, if you watch like Smoky Mountain and stuff or other shows, you'll see her all the time, I think. So he might have, I'm sure he was screwed with her, but like, because I'm sure, I don't like, I know you worked on a smaller scale, but like, I'm sure you guys would look through the curtain and you'd be like, oh, like Steve's here tonight. Like,
oh, it was, it would be like, hey, is there anybody out there that's real mouthy tonight? Because that's who you'd pick on. Because then you could mouth back off it. Did I tell you? I've probably told the story before, but I think the meanest thing I ever said to somebody in the crowd. Did I tell you that story?
Yeah, I think you did. But,
okay.
But I was saying, like, I'm sure you guys would look through and like you'd recognize someone and be like, oh, I remember that guy. Like, yeah. And then you start like coming up with like shit to do them.
Oh, there was an old dude there that was a big fan of mine. And he would get mad if I didn't whoop the guy's ass well enough. So yeah.
I get sad that like if you watch old Sportatorium stuff, because it was weekly, like you kind of get to know the fans. Like there was this Mexican guy that was always in the same seat with his beer every week.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to know him, but then he disappeared one week, and I'm like, oh my God, like I hope he didn't die. Like, I mean, I'm sure he was dead by that point, but you like get worried about him. You're like, well, where is he? I haven't seen him for like 3 weeks. Like, did he die?
Is he
like,
okay?
Yeah, like, I mean, you get that. That's kind of what you miss about like the old territory. So you're like, well, where is he? Like, I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
But but like, I think this is what I think. One thing I think people talk about unions all the time with wrestling and think that it's a possibility. You need to look at this and realize this is why a wrestling union will never happen, because people will always sign the deal.
Yeah.
You're not, you're gonna have somebody who wants to get ahead.
There's enough people, there's enough marks, and there's enough people that will sign the deal that you will always be able. You might lose money in the process, but like, they make money on the TV deal now. There will be enough people to replace them. And you're going to take care of the couple of guys that would like actually tank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How do I phrase this? I'm not an anti-union person. In concept, I'm not. My problem is that I see people screw it up, but it's been the only consistent way of pushing back on like employer overreach. Okay, so there does get having some of that. Sure, I get that. The problem with doing that in the wrestling world is, like you said, there's enough people who are going to either be marks or they're going to be cutthroat so they can try and get ahead and that sort of stuff, that they won't join up with it. So what do you have then is a union no one will bargain with because they don't need to.
Yeah. And I think in the wrestling sense, I think in like sports, I think there is, well, even the NFLPA fucked veterans on some of those deals, because then like it's cheaper because they made it. If you don't know the NFL, at one point they made it like more beneficial to the team to get rid of like those mid-tier vets versus like rookies. So like they did kind of fuck the players in that process. But like, I think like things like, I mean, an AEW is kind of like anchoring that to a degree, which they don't seem to care about, like of pushing wages up and all that stuff. But like, even Meltzer was like, yeah, they started cutting back because like they like to keep the talent ratio of revenue at 5 to 8%, and it was getting too high, which means it was getting to like 10 or 12%.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, if you don't know, like if you don't follow sports, like in most other sports leagues, like the players get about 50% of revenue. And in AEW, I don't know what it is now. Because the people I think don't understand about AEW, and I don't know 100%. I'm just gleaming from what people have said over the years. So AEW contracts are more like NFL contracts. I know that much. But I also know at one point they were getting about 50% of the revenue coming in, and they were trying to keep it at that. But I don't know what it is now because they get so much more money. But I do know that they get a higher percentage of revenue, and I'm pretty sure that Tony Khan ups their pay as they get more revenue in, because he's running it like a sports franchise.
I think that it is around 45% right now. And I can understand why it might be a little bit different, because I think, if I'm wrong, I am wrong, and I will just own it. But it seems to me like you have a more vital support staff that are traveling a lot, because you've got your ring crew, you've got your TV production people, and those are all your company. Like, if whoever's broadcasting the NFL, I mean, that's who's doing TV and production, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the responsibility of the team. And so wanting to have quality people on your staff who are doing these things,
well,
you want to pay them well.
NFL is a little weird because NFL Films is like associated, but they're like a different thing. Because I know I had a friend that worked for NFL Films and got punched by a kicker. Like they punched his camera, and that caused a whole hullabaloo.
Yeah, that's called a problem.
Yeah. Neil Rackers actually did it, I'm pretty sure. Because you probably know the name, but I don't remember what the fault for that. But NFL Films is a different thing. I don't know if that's the production company that does the games, but I don't. It's a little weird there, but yeah.
But that's NFL. That's not the team.
Yeah.
That's not the Bengals or the Steelers or something like that.
and you have a salary floor in most leagues. Not baseball, I don't think, but you do have a salary floor
Yeah.
for salary cap stuff. Baseball is a little different because teams kind of run within their means, but they get revenue sharing. But you spend in other ways. Like, so the Rays like have a low payroll, but they
Yeah.
have an amazing minor league system because the way they run their team is, okay, we're going to get all these prospects and we're going to develop them. And hey, sometimes we're going to suck, but every now and then we're going to get the right mix of prospects in here. We might spend a little bit in free agency to like get us over the hump. So that's kind of like their way of competing, and they actually are pretty successful for their payroll versus other teams.
Fair enough.
But like, yeah, so they do, like, most teams have a salary floor. Like, you have to spend this much because I think I think the Bengals might have been a reason they had to start doing a salary floor, because a certain Mike Brown is a cheap fuck. Sorry, I'm just venting frustration.
Yeah, no,
They
I'm
spent
with
this
you.
year. They spent this year, and they did address things
Okay, good.
because they
I
got,
like Joe Burrow too much.
well, they got Dexter Lawrence to replace Trey, and then they got a couple of defensive pieces.
Okay. Like I said, I like Joe Burrow too much, so
Yeah. But I think the problem that WWE is gonna have though is there's gonna be a point where like you can't replace the talent, and you're gonna be running this show of like shit. It's gonna look like WWE in like '95.
and you're not gonna have, like I said, you're not gonna have institutional knowledge around because they're like, oh, well, why would we keep him? He's old. So,
And like I said,
I don't
AEW is never gonna pull more money than you, but I think the problem they have is like, from what, because AEW's ratings are up pretty big. Like, even Collision's had some big weeks, and even if you're doing big money, like, doesn't it bother you that, like, from what we know, Dynamite is doing better than Raw some weeks?
yeah. Well, they're not their compensation's not tied to their performance unless it's around contract negotiation time. So they don't care. And they are on a platform now where that is not regularly reported precisely. Like,
Yeah,
it's
but
ballparked.
we know things like when when we don't have numbers, it means they did not finish in the top 10, so we know what they did not get, you know?
Yeah. No, like I said, it's not reported precisely.
And the thing you would care about is the thing we don't know, which Meltzer drives me nuts because he brings it up sometimes and he forgets about it. But it is watch time more than views that matters.
It's a whole different way of looking at it that is not the same way that
The cable
the
would count.
TV used to work and what everybody was used to.
Because that's the thing with YouTube that people don't understand. Because there's a drama going on with the quartering right now, and like, he's like obsessed with views, and people keep saying like views don't mean shit. It's the watch time that YouTube cares about. Like, because like, to get monetized on YouTube, there's two things you need. You need a subscriber count, and it's not a view count that you need. It's a watch time you need to get monetized. Because
a view could be someone clicking on the wrong video and then hitting the back button.
Yeah.
There's nothing quantifiable to it.
Yeah. Because like I said, you learn a lot, like and I don't even know why sometimes, but like, yeah, like sometimes your views will be high and like your watch time's not that good. Like, I know when, or like, you might, like, your views might go down, your watch time might go way up. And the thing is, like, the lower views, the more watch time is more valuable to what they care about, because that's how long someone is interacting with their platform. Like, it doesn't do any good if they watch for 10 seconds and be like, this sucks, and moves on, versus, oh, hey, I like this. Like, if one person, like, two people watched this whole show, and so we throw out like 5 hours of watch time, and someone else gets 50 views, but everyone bails in like 30 seconds to a minute. Like it's less valuable to them.
Yeah, because it's not keeping eyes on it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the metric, but I know it's different for people. But yeah. So I'm hoping we can get away from WWE at some point, but they keep doing shit, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be back here in another week talking about it.
There will probably be more news about who took the cut or people getting released, because the scuttlebutt is that there are people who are either getting restructured or released, and they just haven't announced them all yet.
Well, they might.
That's what I mentioned, that Alvarez implied that there's people who either have been released or are going to be, and the names just haven't been disclosed yet. Which, as an aside, like I almost mentioned earlier, but it's like one of the people that rumored they want to restructure is Roman.
They've been wanting to do that for like a year though, because remember they were.
I know, but
like,
it was interesting because it's like he was scheduled.
He was scheduled for 8 shows. He was scheduled for like a bunch of
part-timer.
Yeah, but they had him scheduled for a bunch of shows last week, and they took him off all of those shows.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like the June shows, he's out, and like it's like, what's up with that? And he's like, oh well, I guess they're doing over the summer in June, maybe they're doing another Saudi show. It's like, oh, he's not going to do the Saudi show, so he's not going to be on the Raw on Raw for June because he's not going to be on the show. So why show up? And it's like, because he's the champion, like he should.
I was
like
surprised.
It's messed up. It's messed up that one of your champions. It's like he shows up like a handful of times a year. It's like, this isn't the territory days where it's like Ric Flair was the champion, and you'd see him like every quarter maybe.
Yeah.
Because he's touring around. And meanwhile, you had like your little like NWA promotion had.
You had like your North.
You
had
United
like
States title.
Yeah.
Your North American title. That it actually was like your main title because you had guys actually compete for it all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd be interested to see with that because, what if he says no? Because I don't think you can't really get rid of Roman.
I feel like you can accommodate Roman. You can get rid of a lot of Aleister Blacks.
Yeah.
But you can't get rid of Roman.
Because even if they did, like,
to the extent you have stars, like,
yeah, because like
Roman's your guy.
Because I know people are gonna say, well, they got rid of Francis Ngannou in the UFC, but like Francis Ngannou in the UFC was not a draw. So like, yeah, like it was kind of ridiculous they got rid of their heavyweight champion, but like he wasn't selling them any pay-per-views. So like they made a business decision that ultimately worked out for them, but like that's not wrestling. Like even if we can argue about Roman, because I would tell you Roman's not like a true star and he doesn't sell extra tickets. But if you got rid of him, that like looks really bad on your brand. And then who do you have?
Cody. And people are kind of getting tired of Cody's shit.
I mean, you kind of have Punk still, but you've heavily devalued Punk.
Yeah. So.
And I would argue that Punk couldn't carry a brand on his own either.
Well, they want everybody. They've got their top 4 guys, and they've gone out of their way to tell everybody else that no one's on their level.
They don't even have 4. They have like Punk, Cody, and Roman, and I guess you could say Randy, but Randy is not to that level.
No, and neither is Gunther. Neither is Knight. Neither is. Okay, I can't even joke. I can't even joke and say yeet. Like they've made it very clear that nobody's on these guys' levels. Yep. So who are you going to have them work with?
Well,
because people are tired of seeing them work with each other.
And you don't have anyone. You've so buried everyone under them, you can't really build anyone up to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no one to like put them over.
Yeah.
Because even like
Yeah.
Oba, they put him over Brock, and now they're having him do an open challenge thing, which like just signals to your audience you don't have anything for him, which is what we talked about with Gunther. Is like, okay, you put them over someone, but it's the follow up that matters too. Like you have to have a follow up.
Yeah, because if you do all that push,
Yeah,
go ahead, Matt.
I talked about that last week. It's like, well, Oba is a guy like you should push to the moon, and you're not, because your champions are Cody and Roman, and neither one of those guys is going to be like, oh yeah, like let me hot shot the title onto Oba Femi. It's like, no. So what do you do? Have him every week go out and destroy someone, because that'll kind of keep him over. But it's also like, well, then what? What are you gonna do?
Well, the problem is
over one of those other two guys.
Well, the problem is like, so when you want to put him up to that level, like it's going to be Randy Orton that says, "Yeah, I'll drop to him," but like Randy Orton doesn't mean the same as Roman or Cody. It's the problem.
Yeah.
It's the problem you had after the Attitude Era, where they wouldn't put the new generation over any of like the big Attitude stars other than Foley, who didn't matter, and Taker sometimes. So then you had to build. So then you built this new generation that wasn't as over because they had to go over each other, and then they didn't go over the old generation. And then you kind of did the same thing with the new generation that wasn't as over as that generation.
Yeah. And then you were feeding the people you were building up to other people and devaluing them with wins that didn't really build up these other people well.
Yeah, like how they had the Boogeyman for a couple years, and then they let him go and he never lost the match.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, like, I guess we will see if there actually is like trouble in paradise with Roman, because they're building to like Roman being challenged at Backlash by Jacob Fatu. If you see the shocking thing happen and Jacob Fatu wins the title, then you will know for sure, like, oh, there's problems with Roman and TKO. But I don't anticipate that happening. But
no, I'm not seeing that either.
They haven't.
I guess that will be the metric. If,
they haven't.
They asked him to take like.
Jacob's too young to get the title, and also they haven't jobbed him that one too many times to make sure that like people care less when he finally gets over the hump. So we have to wait.
Yeah.
But I think that is it for this week. If they do more releases, we'll talk about it next week.
It's such a weird thing going on, because like there's some pretty cool AEW stuff going on, but the fact that TKO keeps kicking WWE in the dick and WWE keeps kicking itself in the dick is just pervasive.
The problem with AEW is like they're just kind of chugging along, doing a good product, and there's not like if we were doing a review show, it'd be really fun to do a review show, which I'm not going to do a review show every week because I don't want to have to watch the same thing. But like, there's nothing like in a more meta way to talk about AEW right now. It's not like there's not a lot to talk about because it's like, yeah, their booking's pretty good. They're making good decisions. The Darby thing was kind of cool. Oh, their metrics are up all over the board. Like they're doing well right now. Like you can't.
Yeah, they're doing good, and we could talk about what we liked, but there's it's just in a lot of cases when we do that, we end up agreeing a lot, and we don't get the same kind of discussion going.
The problem we've had there is, I would say the three of us have varying opinions. I would say I've been the most down on them recently, but like I don't. Well, one, like we try not to shit on things. Like it's why we don't necessarily talk about the WWE a lot unless it's notable, because like I don't want to just bring stuff up for the sake of crapping on them. But I do feel like a lot of the stuff they've done recently has been like, you need to talk about it if you're doing a wrestling show. So but I also like with AEW, I just don't want to shit on it because there's so much like disingenuous like criticism of AEW. Like when you're having like a legitimate conversation, that well's kind of like poisoned.
Yeah, you're right. It is. There's so much grift happening around it that like No. How do we separate this out? Well, apparently we don't get to separate it out.
Yeah, because like I'd say because I think someone might watch and be like, oh, you're just a bunch of AEW stans. Like, well, no, like I horribly shit on the Death Riders all last year. I'm even on a break right now because I wasn't down with an MJF thing. Like we crapped all over them for putting the belt back on MJF. There's other things we've been highly critical of. I think we even have an episode from like the end of 2024 where we're just like, how do they fix the problem they have themselves in?
Something like that.
We shit on the we don't care about Edge and Christian reunion.
No. I don't. I don't give a damn about that.
Yeah. So
Matter of fact, I'm frankly annoyed by having Copeland back on my TV. I don't want to see him. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to.
I would say too, we don't always agree because Shad and I have had at least double-digit arguments on this show about the Bruchachos. And Matt kind of is just like in between, like, God, won't they shut the fuck up about this already?
I did not. I'm on record as saying I did not mind the Bruchachos. Yes, it went. It's a very good example of Tony Khan. Tony Khan has flaws with his booking, and one of the biggest things, and I've talked about it endlessly, is that he has an idea that he wants to do,
Mm-hmm.
and he almost gets pigeonholed or so rigid that it's like, I have to do this idea, and sometimes he forces it when it's like, look, the hand of God is literally like telling you not to do this because there's like horrific injuries where it's like the two people or more that you want to do this with have an injury that they're going to be out like 6 months.
And
Tony Khan's like, no, I must do it. Let me have like the one person of the two in a holding pattern for 6 months. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that.
He will like, literally hold the company hostage for months.
It's like, don't do that, Tony Khan. But he will do that
sometimes.
That has not better.
Yes.
No, better. He kind of. What did he do? He did it with something like last year. He's better, but he still does it. Because I swear to God, if Adam Cole popped up healthy, like when MJF had the title, he would have tried to do their angle the way he wanted to again. If he had them on the roster and healthy at the same time, I still think
feel bad for Adam. I feel bad for Adam Cole. It's like Tony Khan clearly like loves Adam Cole, and by all accounts, like Adam Cole is like. I've not heard anyone say like, oh, I don't like Adam Cole. Like everyone who knows Adam Cole, the real person, are like, he is a doll. Like he's the loveliest person, the nicest person. Like everyone has glowing things to say about Adam Cole, but
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, if Adam Cole comes back,
I don't mean of the person. I mean of as the performer. I'm not a big Adam Cole guy.
As a performer, I've not cared for him overall, but at his AEW run, there have been points I've actually enjoyed it and I've liked him. But
I like him. Yeah, I like him teaming with the Bucks. That's when he's enjoyable.
Cole came up healthy again. It's like, I'm healthy. Like I'm fine. Like you would absolutely see the world title on him. Yeah. What'd you say?
Oh, I said I like when he teams with the Bucks. That's the only time I find him enjoyable because they bring out some personality. And the other thing is, like, I know we talked about it before, but his last run, like, he really, I know, his body was terrible the last run. Like he just looked like shit the last run. Like it made it hard to watch him.
He's not a big guy.
No,
but he was like really skinny. He was jaundiced for some of it. Like he just had no bulk to him last time. I mean, he was getting a little better at the end, but like no, he was getting into like Zack Sabre Jr. levels of like, God damn it, eat a fucking hamburger.
So that's ironic because like Zack Sabre Jr. like in person, like standing like a few feet away from him in 2019. Because he was there at like with the WrestleCon stuff when they had Mania in New York in 2019. Mm-hmm. I was standing like feet away from him, and I'm like, damn, like I'm not a big guy. I'm like medium. I'm literally like I wear a medium T-shirt. I'm medium sized. I'm under 200 pounds. You know, I'm not one of these like pro wrestlers who even like a 220-pound person is a lightweight, or
Yeah.
what back in the day. Now you
build 220.
Yeah. Nowadays you have guys who are like 180 and like, main eventing. But like Zack Sabre Jr. was small. He actually has bulked up in the years
No,
since.
yeah. I'm
Like,
talking about like mid 2000s Zack Sabre Jr. That was like a beanpole.
Yeah, like Adam Cole but Adam Cole's always actually been like smaller. The
No,
problem
but
with Adam Cole,
he had definition though.
he did. The problem with Adam Cole is like I've always the criticism I've had of, and I've said this before on the show, is that his moveset doesn't fit like his body structure. It's like he does some stuff that it's like you shouldn't be doing this when you don't. And I know it's like wrestling is a. Although I pull a Kevin Nash, like that's fucking fake, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, but it's fake. But it's like you need to have some believability. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And he wrestles sometimes where it's like, I saw someone. The criticism of Adam Cole is that he wrestles like a SmackDown paw.
Yeah,
wrestler
he
character.
Does.
Like he
a lot of guys have that problem.
You give him all the special finishers, and it's like, but he's not. He doesn't have like the physique. Like I didn't create this Caw where he's like, he looks like Brock Lesnar doing all this shit. But
even like small guys, like if you go back, like Petey Williams, like had like definition and like he was built and stuff, and even like younger Adam Cole. But like I've been to like indie shows that Adam Cole was on, and he never bulked up a ton. But like even when I was at my smallest, like which was like 185, like I was still way bigger than him. I was a little taller than him, and like I was a lot wider, like had broader shoulders than him. He's not a big guy. I mean, now granted, I will say that is kind of unfair because there's pictures of me with like professional athletes, and I'm broader shouldered than like professional athletes. So like, I understand, like I am wide, so I don't necessarily hold that against him. People are like, well, he's like 6 feet, right? Like, no, I'm 5'10" and I'm taller than him. And like when I weighed 185, I probably had 10 pounds on him.
I mean, if I went and found the first picture, the picture from the first time I met Danhausen, you see the just dramatically big difference between us.
Well, there's a picture of him. I saw him wrestle Leo Rush, and he wasn't that much taller than Leo Rush, and Leo Rush is like 5'6".
Yeah. Well, it works for Leo Rush. Leo Rush kind of has that.
Yeah, but Leo Rush has bulk though too. Like Leo Rush has like, if you watch Leo Rush wrestle, like he has he's really like built legs. He's got like Leo Rush is built.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. Like I said, he needs to work. Like his body was always fine until that last run. I'm just like, dude, I know you.
He was more toned in that last run, and I think the jaundice was the wrong spray tan.
Probably.
No, I think it was spray tan.
Yeah, but so there was some stuff that didn't work, but Adam Cole had like toned up in that last run. Okay, cool.
I would just have randos and be like, I'm watching Dynamite, and they'd be like, hey, is Adam Cole still jaundiced? And I'd be like, no, I think he's finally not.
But
I don't think he's ever wrestling again, though. So
yeah,
I don't think.
And I hate that for him.
Did he officially retire with that announcement, or was it like
no? Because they wanted to be able to leave the door open for him in case something changed.
Adam Cole, I know you're not watching this, but if you happen to come across this, like, just retire, dude. Like, you don't have anything to prove, and your health is more important than a couple of wrestling matches.
Yeah, that's...
The wrestler is not a goal to end up like, which Bryan Danielson is bound to determine to...
He's managed not to, so...
No, I'm telling you, Shad, he's going to cut himself on a deli slicer, and he's going to be back.
That's the other thing that I wish I had been able to be in attendance for, is an Undertaker entrance and a Bryan Danielson final countdown entrance. Didn't get either one of those. But I did, I did see. I saw Danielson and Claudio tag. I can't remember. It was. I mean, it's Danielson and Claudio. It was badass. So.
Well, I think that is it for this week. So, like I said, I don't know what next week's topic is going to be. We're going to probably leave these shows open ended for a while until things kind of settle down with these contract disputes. It might not, unless there's like some real notable names or like we get some more information, it might just be a side topic for the show. We are going to be doing we're going to do it this week, but because this was kind of a bigger topic. So next week, the match of the week for next week is Kento Miyahara versus Yuji Nagata from All Japan. I think it's in 2023. I'm looking forward to watching that. So come hang out with us next week and we'll be talking about that match. You can find that on YouTube if you want to watch it beforehand. So this has been Matt, Chad, and Brad. We've been in 3 corners and you've been in the 4th, and we will catch you next time.